Hi everybody! In today's video I'm going to show you how to make this really cute wreath, and we're going to do two versions of it. We're going to do a digital version that you can send through text, and we're also going to do the card version so that you can create two cards from a letter size sheet. So let's go ahead and get started. I have open here a letter size document at 300 dpi, and the reason I've chosen letter is if you fold it in half, or if you cut it in half and then fold it in half again, you get a card that's this size and it fits into a baronial envelope. And I will leave a link in the description below for where you can find baronial envelopes. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get into this project. I'm going to go ahead and select black by double tapping down here, and I'm going to choose a brush from the calligraphy set that comes with Procreate. I'm going to select this monoliner, and I'm going to dial down the size of that brush, and I'm going to create a circle. And we're just going to go ahead and draw the circle and then hold, and then tap one finger to turn it into a circle. And then it's got the edit shape on right now, so we just need to double tap our transform tool to invoke the transform tool. And I have snapping on with a distance of 3 so that I can see where I'm positioning this. And when I see the golden lines, I know that I've got the entire object centered, and that's what I want to do. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is add a layer above that, and I want to create sort of a painted rectangle, and that's going to serve as a background later on. So I'm going to select another brush. I'm going to go to the painting set that comes standard with Procreate, and I'm going to select Gouache. And let's take a look at this brush. I think somewhere, okay, anywhere between, I think maybe 20% and probably 30% is going to be good. I'm going to go 27%. I think that's where I feel good. The next thing I'm going to do is choose a color from the Winter #1 palette that you can get for free just by visiting my site. It's an instant download available to everybody, and I will leave a link in the description below. And I'm going to just choose this really bright sort of royal blue color there, and then I'm going to start creating a rectangle shape, and I want to keep the pressure pretty consistent because this is a pressure activated brush. And so I'm going to just kind of draw it down like this and keep it pretty consistent pressure, and I'm going to go ahead and create an outline. I just found that this works a little bit better for the way I'm using the brush. And then I'm just going to go in here and make it look like the grain kind of goes in the same direction here. And I'm not going to pick up my brush because I don't want to have weird overlapping color issues. Okay, and that looks pretty good. And the next thing I'm going to do is position this centered. So we're going to go ahead and invoke our transform tool there by touching it. And then we're going to move this until we see the golden line, and we may or may not see the golden. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm just going to ignore this background for a little bit. So I'm going to turn it off in my layers here, the visibility anyway, just by clicking the little checkbox right there. And then while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And now I'm going to go use a brush from a set that is in my shop. And now you can use any wreath brushes that you like. You don't have to use my set. But I really like my set, so that's what I'm going to use. And the set that I am using is the Festive Winter set. And the Festive Winter set comes with two little collections here, two different basically collections of brushes. The first one is a stamp set, and there's also a water color paper texture to lay over the top if you want. But there's all of these different stamps, and actually this ribbon is a two-colored, more like a text brush, and this as well, this long stems. But the rest of these are all stamps. You just stamp it down and get the shape. But the brushes that we're actually going to be using is the other part of the set, and that is all of these wreath brushes. And the first brush that we're going to be using is this branches brush right here. So I'm going to go over and choose a new color, and I kind of like this charcoal color because I want this to be sort of a cool wintry wreath. So I'm going to select that charcoal color right there, and then I'm going to take a look at the size of my brush here, and I'm thinking, let's see, somewhere around 60% looks pretty good. So I'm going to start drawing, let's see, I think I'm going to start drawing right down here, sort of at the, what would that be, 7 o'clock space, and then just kind of go around my wreath and stop, but I don't want to hold. I just want to let go like that. Okay, now I'm not sure that I like the size of the brush. I think I want it a little bit bigger, so that's all right. We're just going to go ahead and undo. And now let's draw that up just a little bit more. Let's take it to something more like 75%. There we go. And from the same area. Oh yes, that's a much better size. And again, just right there is where I'm going to stop. And now, since we didn't invoke quick shapes by holding our brush, we've got this little outlier, and the brush just lays down as it does because it doesn't know what direction we're going to go in. And that's fine, especially for what we're doing, because we didn't want to invoke the quick shape. I actually want to get rid of that, so this is perfect. So let's go ahead and select our selection tool, and then with freehand selected and add, and we want to make sure that color fill is not selected, we're just going to go ahead and draw around this particular shape that's kind of an outlier. And then we're going to use 3 fingers and drag down to invoke our copy and paste menu. And then we're just going to cut that. Then I'm going to look around here and see, like, where is a natural break between this shape here. And I kind of feel like right in here is a natural break. So I'm going to separate these 3 so that I can flip them over. But before I do that, I want to reposition this wreath a little bit. So I'm going to select my transform tool, and I'm going to touch the green dot up here. And I'm just, looks like, well, no, I guess that's all right. No, it looks, is that an optical illusion? It sort of looks like this is moving too. Let me double check. Nope, it's just an optical illusion. Wow, that is a really good one. Holy cow. Okay, so anyway, that is really crazy. It just makes me feel like the whole entire thing is moving. I've never had that happen before. How funny. Okay, so anyway, yes, I want to move this so that it's kind of above. It's almost like a C shape happening here. Okay, that's great. And so now I'm going to go ahead and select out these 3 because you can see there's this nice little natural break right there. So selecting and cutting is going to be really easy. I won't worry about like accidentally cutting one of the other shapes here. So I'm going to select my selection tool, and then I'm just going to come around like this. Okay. And then 3-finger drag to get the copy and paste. And this time we're going to go ahead and cut and paste. And because we've done that, it's put it on a new layer and also opened up our transform tool, which is great. So now we want to go ahead and flip this horizontally, and then we're just going to sort of position it so that it kind of seems like it's tying together with that one, but we still want it to stay really true to that circle. So kind of like that. Ooh, I really like that. Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and just tap that to close it. So now let's go ahead and create a new layer on, well, actually, we should probably merge these 2 just so that we keep the unit together. So let's go ahead and tap that layer to select, to get this menu, and then select merge down. Now we can create a new layer. And we're going to select a new brush. Actually, let's select our new color. I'm going to select this really nice kind of bluish gray color. Kind of makes me think of Payne's gray in a way, but anyway, I like that color, and it's kitty corner sort of to that charcoal that we just used, and it's right next door to the royal blue that we used. So that's the color we're going to use now. And then the next brush we're going to use is this fur brush, and I really like that brush. Let's see, what size do I want? That seems maybe a little too big. I'm sort of comparing the picture here to the shape over here and how big do I want it to be. I definitely want it bigger than the twigs, but not too much. I'm actually thinking somewhere around 45 is pretty good. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and go the full circle, but again, not holding it so that I don't really want to invoke the quick shapes. So I'm just going to go along the circle the best of my ability. Just like that. Okay, awesome. Oh wow, I really like how that's looking. Okay, that was a good size for those twigs. Okay, so just like before, I'm going to select this one out and get rid of it. So let's go ahead and choose our selection tool. And again, just making sure that it's add and freehand that are selected there. And then just going to go ahead and draw around that particular shape. Okay, and then 3-finger drag and then cut. Okay, now again I want to flip some of this over, and I'm thinking these 3 look like there's a good break right in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my selection tool again, and I'm just going to draw right around here and do my best not to accidentally cut through any of the fur shape there. Okay, that looks pretty good here. Sometimes I have trouble with my 3-finger drag. Okay, there we go. Again, cut and paste. And so now we're going to go ahead and flip horizontally, and then once again we're going to position this on our wreath. Oh wow, I really like the way that's looking. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I don't really need my circular guide anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that layer and just turn off the visibility. And the next thing I want to do is I want to go back up to the top where it's still selected here, I want to tap it and merge down so that that whole unit is one unit together. Okay, now let's create a new layer on top of that. And we're going to get over to our colors again. And I really love this purple color right there. It's very pretty. And so we're going to select that purple color right there. And then for brushes, we're going to select this berry cluster here. And again, I just need to kind of eyeball how it looks here and thinking about what I want it to look like here. So I'm thinking, gosh, 50 or 45. I actually think 45 might be a good size. We'll experiment, and if we like it, we'll keep it, and if we don't, we'll do it again. So let's go ahead and just start drawing right about here and go the whole circle that we have here, right like that. Actually, that was great. Well, is it great, or do I want it bigger? I think I want it bigger, so let's go ahead and undo. Bring that size up again to 50. 51 is what I wound up with there. And now let's, oh yeah, that's better. I really do like the bigger ones. Sweet. Okay. I totally dig that. Okay, that is awesome. Now, let's go ahead and just out of curiosity, I don't know how well this is all positioned anymore. So with this layer selected, gently slide to the right and drop the next two layers below it, just like that. And we're going to create a, actually, you know what, while we're at it, do this one too. And let's go ahead and create a group. Okay. And then I just want to select these three inside of that group, just like we just did. And now I want to go ahead and select my move tool here, and I just want to make sure that everything is centered. There we go. Because there's different pieces in it now, you know, it changes the object itself and where it's centered. So there we go. That looks great. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is put some text in here. And actually, this seems really big to me now, so I think I actually want to shrink down the size. So while we still have those layers selected, let's go ahead and select our transform tool. And with uniform selected, we're going to go ahead and just bring this down a little bit so it's a little more comfortable in its size. And then again, we have to recenter it. So there we go. Okay, there we go. The whole creation process is a process. So, you know, sometimes you think, oh, that's too big, I want it smaller. So that's just what happened there. So now let's go back to our colors here. And let's select that gray that we used for the fur. I think that'll make a nice color for our text. And then let's see where we are. Let's go ahead and just tap layer 5 there. And then select our wrench and add text. Okay, and I'm just going to type in the word greetings, but of course you can use any word you like. And then I'm going to double tap my word to select the word. And then I'm going to go over here to the capital and lowercase a to invoke the style panel. So once inside, I'm going to choose a script font that comes natively with iPad, and that is Snell something or other. I can never remember the full name. It's so funny. By now I should remember it, but I don't. Okay, let's see. There it is. Snell Roundhand. Okay, that's great. And then the other thing is, bold is awesome, but honestly, black is my favorite because it gives a lot of weight, especially for this sort of wispier wreath. So I really like that. So I'm going to bring this down now. And I'm just going to look and see where it feels comfortable. This is sort of more of an organic rather than an actual centering here. I want to see how it feels. And then I'm going to drag the size up just a little bit. And that's way too much. So I'm thinking somewhere around 65. Yeah, that seems better. And then I'm just going to play around with this a little bit, see where it feels comfortable inside of that shape. That seems pretty good to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap done. And that is awesome. I love the way that looks. So now let's see how it all looks against our background. So we're going to pop open our panel here, and then we're going to turn the color back on for or the visibility back on for layer 2 here. And of course it's too dark. We knew that it was going to be, but let's go ahead and tap N, which stands for normal, which is one of the blending modes. We're not going to play with the blending modes. We're just going to look at the opacity. And let's start dialing the opacity down. And what we really are after is something that looks great as a background, but really helps. You really want to see the wreath in front of it. We really want to feel that wreath. It's such a weird thing to say, but it's funny. When I draw, a lot of it is by feeling. Like, how would that feel? Both in sort of a sense of how it might feel physically, but also what does it invoke in me when I look at it. But I feel that 22% opacity is great for this background color. So let's take a look at that. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, I really like that. And I think this would make a really cute digital text to my friends during the season. Of course, now I can't do it because they'll see this video. So I have to make another one. That is totally fine. Anyway, so how would you do that? Well, I would go over to the wrench here, and then I would select share, and then I would just save it as a JPEG that to my camera roll. Just right here, save image, and then I would have that and I could send it to whoever I wanted to. But let's say you wanted to do the cards, so how would you do that? Well, let's turn on our canvas guide here. So let's select canvas, drawing guide, I'm sorry, I called it canvas guide, drawing guide, and then let's edit the drawing guide. I'm gonna choose like a color here, red, that maybe is easier to see. I'm going to dial up the opacity and the thickness, and then I'm going to turn the grid size all the way up to max, and that gives me a nice set of quadrants. So we could actually make 2 cards with this setting. When you're satisfied with how your grid or your drawing guide is, you can tap done here. And now we've got all of this as a group, which is great. So with the group selected, we're going to go over to our transform tool, and then we're going to have uniform selected here, and we're going to just draw this down so that it fits within one of these squares right here, or rectangles right here. And so that looks pretty good. We want to have pretty good borders because not all printers print full bleed, so keeping that in mind. And that looks really great. So now I'm going to go over to my layers, and I'm going to gently slide that group over to the left and tap duplicate. And then I'm going to select with my transform tool that duplicate group, and because I have snapping on, it's going to tell me side to side, there we go, whoops, right there, that I have things lined up the same way so that my cards will look consistent from card to card. And so really all I need to really care about then is the space top and bottom. And that looks pretty good. Actually, it looks like it just messed up. There we go. Okay, and now we're ready to go ahead and print. So how would you do that? So I would go ahead and select my wrench and then go back over to, share. And then you can choose either JPEG or PDF, and I found from my own printing projects that PDF seems to work pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and select PDF, and then you would choose best mode, and then you would select your printer. And then I have a couple printers. I have a HP printer, and then I also have an Epson printer, and so I would select which printer I wanted, and I would just double check all of my settings, make sure it was letter, and then I would print, and then I would slice it in half, and then I'd fold my my cards so that I had you know, my cards were all made and ready to go into the baronial envelopes. But I'm actually not going to print because I actually am going to use the digital one, but I know that people still do send cards, and that's awesome. Okay, so okay, and that is really how you do everything. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I also hope if you do use the brushes from my shop that you enjoy them. There are so many brushes, and oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite packs actually. I really enjoyed creating that pack. Whether you do or not though, my biggest hope for you is that you have an amazing day. Take care everyone.